Okay, today we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, which is what cards are the most annoying, the most irritating, the stupidest, dumbest, most obnoxious cards in Edison Format. This is a definitive compilation of my choices for this. I think there are definitely some other honorable mentions, but we couldn't go over everything in this video. So this is just my little list here. We're, of course, beginning with the least objectionable and moving to the most objectionable because we got to build suspense, of course. Starting here with the only side deck card really on the list, which is Vanity's Fiend. I've remarked that in like 80% of situations that I see this card summoned, you would have just been better off summoning a Caius. It's just like it always gets outed. It always gets outed. It always gets answered. It's always just like an inferior way of trading into stuff than Caius. Except for every now and then where it just steals the game for no reason. I think this card is way oversided. I think you should pretty much only be siding it in something like frogs or, something like that. Pretty much should only be siding it against something like frogs now, come to think of it. But, I think the situations where it's useful are extremely narrow. It's just not that good. I mean, it always gets met with... There's so much random, removal in decks in Edison Format. It's just insane. So... I don't know. It's a really weird card because I feel like it's kind of bad most of the times, but it can definitely sack. So, I don't know. I just wish people played this less. So, that's all it is. But it's not like that objectionable, I guess. At least not compared to these other ones, of course, which is why it is last on the list. Next on the list, we have Brain Control. Most of you would probably put this card way higher on this list, and I definitely understand why. Because Brain Control is like one of the most insanely sacky cards in the entire format. And there are people who defend it and say it's not that bad, but it absolutely is. Like, the fact that you can just take a guy and, attack with it and do anything with it and tribute with it is so, so broken. The only reason I have it low is because it's, kind of neat to have it as a generic staple in the format that lets you play into established boards. But I think... in reference to that, it would be a lot healthier if we just had Dark Hole instead of this. And I'm not joking. There's some Dark Hole haters out there. I'm a Dark Hole apologist. I think Dark Hole is super healthy and super fair. It's basically just the monster equivalent of Heavy Storm. I mean, it's a lot easier to play around than Brain Control. There's just this card creates so many situations where it's like you're in a winning position, but you will just lose if your opponent top decks Brain Control. And I think part of the reason that Thought Ruler Syndrome is a thing is because of situations like that where people feel like they have to make Thought Ruler because if their opponent top decks Brain Control, they just lose. But, this card just does so much dumb stuff. I mean, Brain Caius just, destroys anything in the entire game. Anything in the entire format just gets completely answered by that. It's so nutty. But, yeah, as, a late-game top deck stealing games, it's super obnoxious, so... I definitely could see an argument for Brain Control being higher. But like I said, the reason I have it so low is because it is a generic staple that gets put in every deck that can answer established boards, and I really like that in the format. So it's kind of got some positive aspects to it that I think offsets the sackiness and the overpoweredness of Brain Control. But yeah, just Change of Hearting a monster is still crazy. So yeah. This one is the only archetype-specific card on here, to be honest. And it's only because it's just so overpowered. Blackwings, I've been commenting lately about how I feel they're kind of I mean, they're tier 1. They're tier 1. I'm not going to say they're not tier 1. But, I don't think they're near the top of tier 1. I think they're, in the middle or bottom of tier 1 even. And the only reason that they're ever unfair or feel really overpowered to play against is because of this card specifically. This card in particular is just super dumb and generates really stupid zero brain pluses for no reason whatsoever. And I just think it's it kind of feels like Spellbook of Judgment or something, where it's this in archetype card that was just unquestionably broken on release and poorly designed. And I mean, yeah, if you go first in Open Whirlwind and Blackwing, you pretty much win. That's just kind of how it is. It's almost like Dust Shoot. It just should not be a 2 still, honestly. I think there's a couple cards on here that are just bad ban list decisions, and this is definitely one of them. This card should not still be at 2. It's really absurd at anything above 1, honestly. It's just Like, the fact that it keeps giving you pluses turn after turn after turn. It's like if Heroes had 3 Stratos or something. I mean, it's that insane. So, I am super not a fan of Black Whirlwind. That being said, Blackwings in general I don't hate. There's like a lot of cards on here that I considered putting on here because they were from like decks that I didn't like. But a lot of those decks just didn't have like individual cards that were annoying enough. Whereas this card in particular is just so absurdly, obscenely overpowered that I felt like it could get a spot on the list even though I don't mind playing against Blackwings that much. So, screw Black Whirlwind. Card's dumb. People who play it are dumb. Okay, not really, but you know. Here we have I just kind of lumped all these guys together. Limiter removal, Honest, and Kalut. Honest and Kalut suffer, I think, from just being at too many copies. Like, it should be like 1 Honest and 2 Kalut instead of 2 Honest and 3 Kalut. These cards are crazy. They're like super hard to play around. They just steal like games by hitting lethal for no reason. They completely turn around situations that shouldn't be turnaroundable. They're just super annoying, and like you can't really play around them because you don't really know. You've all seen situations where these cards are just stupid. So that's where I'm at on those. Honest in particular is definitely the most overpowered card on here. I think like the fact that it's also got like a decent effect of being a pseudo spirit monster. I don't know why it's not just straight up a spirit monster, to be honest. But like it's a 19 booty, and you can just like poke with it and then put it back to your hand. It's so silly, and it's the most generic card on here too. So Honest is definitely the craziest one. Limiter removal is weird. It's like only good in machine decks, but it'll just randomly steal games for no goddamn reason whatsoever. So I decided to throw it in with these two, even though it's probably not such a big deal. I mean, because it doesn't have the advantage of being like a hand trap. I guess you can kind of pseudo use it like a hand trap when you're battling on your turn because it's a quick play that you can use in damage, but yeah, I'm not really sure limiter removal belongs in here. Maybe I shouldn't have lumped it in with these two. But these like hand damage step question mark meme cards are super irritating. So, yeah. I think we all know about the sins of this boy. I mean, I'm not even necessarily talking about Frog Combo or Frog FTK here. Or even Frogs, period. Just this card. Just like, fuck this card in particular. It's so stupid. It's one of like the worst designed, most unhealthy things that have ever been made in the entire game. And that's not an exaggeration either. That's like actual fact. I think this is like top 3 or something, or at least top 5 dumbest design cards. Up there with like Painful Choice and CED. Not exaggerating. This is my true unfiltered opinion. Fuck Substitute and everything he represents. I mean, okay, it's true. Frogs would probably suck without him, but like I can live with that, you know. I don't even dislike Frogs, but this guy is just so dumb. Like whether you're playing him in Frog Combo or just some regular Frog thing, it's just so stupid. Like you shouldn't just be able to turbo out your whole deck. I don't know why this needs to be said, but like yeah, I mean that's just is not particularly fair, and it does enable dumb loops and combos and stuff. And of course goes on to create a game-breaking FTK that's one of the most powerful, if not most powerful, FTKs to ever exist in the entire game. So, I mean, it's just a poorly designed, disgusting, overpowered card that shouldn't exist in the way that it does. So, Substitute definitely earning this high spot on the list of obnoxious cards in Edison Format. If you're a Frog fanboy, you could fight me on this. Alright, so I originally planned on putting Trunade here too, but honestly, Trunade's not nearly as bad as Cold Wave. Cold Wave, this card is absurd. Like, okay, it's not good in a lot of the top meta decks, but the decks that do play it, it's just like such a dumb, unfair auto win button in so many situations. Like if Glad Beasts draw Cold Wave into multiple back row, they pretty much just win the game right there. Sabers draw it. I mean, the fact this card just like not only lets them go insanely plus into your back row and there's nothing you can do about it whatsoever. Also, it's just like skips your turn sometimes, you know, it's just like you can't even play for a full round, and that can be crippling and game losing. Plus, these cards like Cold Wave and Trunade are just sort of unhealthy forms of back row removal. They're not like interactive in the way that Storm is. You can't really play around them, and they only enable dumb stuff. But I think between the two of them, Cold Wave is definitely far worse than Giant Trunade. There's not a lot of stupid stuff that gets done with Giant Trunade in Edison Format. I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe someone will figure something out, and I'll have to revise my opinion on that. But, yeah, for now, Cold Wave is up here. I think this is, like, the second highest, so it definitely deserves it. Cold Wave is a stupid card. I mean, it's just obscene. If you ever get Cold Wave used against you, it's got to be one of the worst feelings in the entire game, because, my god, it's just painful. Anyway, of course, I think we all know who's in the number one spot here. That's right, it's Trap Dust Shoot. I can't think of a single person who would disagree with putting this as the number one most obnoxious card. It's like the single most toxic thing in any format from like 2008 up until when it was banned in March 2012. Like, this just gets shoved into every deck because if you draw it turn one, you pretty much just win the game. I mean, it's that bad. It's that much of a blowout. I mean, there's just like nothing you can do. There's this card is responsible for like the most stomps of like any individual card in the entire format, I'm pretty sure. Like, if you just draw this going first, you pretty much win. I mean, resolving it is just so crazy. It's so crazy. You can do dumb shit like chain it to spell trap removal too. It's also furthermore dumb that it can be like a dead draw in late game, but you just have to play it because of like how obscene it is if you actually resolve it early game. So, I mean, the information and getting to rip a card, like a specific monster, which is super relevant because effect monsters are what the format's pretty much all about. It just makes it so OP, so unfair, so unfun. Just like ends game, creates these like non-games, I've heard them described as. And there's no other card really like this, and it's just completely generic, played in everything. So, Dust Shoot definitely warranted for having the top spot on this list of annoying cards. Definitely my most hated card, probably most people's most hated card, at least among people who play the format. So, anyways, let me know what you guys thought of the tier list. Be sure to leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click that alert bell, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.